Welcome back to the Gnostic Chef. Have you ever heard the saying, to be or not to be? Romeo and Juliet. Was that a comedy? Does anybody have any information on that for me? Is that a comedy or a tragedy? Or is that just the current state of affairs? The world around you would be a comedic scene if you had the eyes to see. Although it is a tragedy, it is a comedy unfolding in front of your eyes. Sure, some of us find the time to laugh and others find the time to cry. The differences are whether or not you can see or compassionate without consent. You can compassionate something without having the consent of what that something is doing. So to be or not to be? Is it to be present? To only care of the present moment? Because if you do not, then how are you to be? Because to be is to be present, and not to be would be to live in the past. So many of us spend our lives living in the past or hoping for the future. Obviously, planning for the future is a step most of us have to take in the base of not wanting to struggle or not having issues come up that you could have foreseen. But living in the past, you can never be present because you're always going to be living and reeling over those things that you think that you may have done wrong. The thing to do would be to take those things and then use them in the present moment to make sure that you don't make those same mistakes. The best bet you can do is make new mistakes each day. Continuing to make the same mistake over and over again is what they call insanity. And with these stories, we find inspiration. But inspiration should be found within. External sources will give you inspiration, and it might be the inspiration for the day or the week. Most people fall out of that inspiration unless they're reminded. Now, there's a friendly reminder each time that you take that inhalation. When you're inspired, you are simply breathing. To have the spirit, you are simply breathing. Had a conversation over these interwebs just today, actually, where we were talking about inspiration. A gentleman wanted to hear somebody's story to be inspired. Seemingly, maybe he was looking for someone to give him some kind of courage to do something with his date. Looking at the definition, inspire is to fill someone with urge, the ability to do or feel something, especially to do something creative. If you look at the second definition, number 2, it's to breathe. In the air. Inhale. Those that are full of the Spirit are simply breathing. The Spirit is the breath of God. Those of you without it maybe find themselves lacking the inspiration. It's a simple task to be present in the moment, while others seem to struggle. They have to go find an external source, ask them for the permission to be inspired through their stories and words. To me, this is not true inspiration. Waking up, you should have that inspiration daily. Finding, like I said, others to fill that source will usually leave you empty. And that's why you go back and back and back, just like a drug addict looking for their fix. They can't be inspired on their own, so they need a story to be inspired for. And I get these things. As we get older, you kind of find that those inspirations are little. I heard a gentleman say that he has millions of stories of being inspired. And I think it's a pretty basic concept to have a million stories of why you're inspired. The other gentleman couldn't understand this. He wanted to hear each and every one of them because he didn't have that belief that someone could simply do that on their own. Now, I'm sure when he wakes up each day, he feels inspired to do better. Maybe not every single day, but most days he's finding a reason to breathe and enjoy the space that he's in. I enjoy life, and I take the good with the bad. I find inspiration in all things. Simply walking outside inspires me to do something. The sun on my skin, when I eat crap food, inspires me to make better food. When I have something to drink that's not quite as up to par of something I can make at home, I do it myself. These are all small bits of inspiration that I take on, but those aren't things that make me do it. I want to. I'm inspired within to do these things on my own. Making kombucha at the house, from trying all the different ones and having no benefits. There's many things out there to be inspired from, and it doesn't have to come from external sources or other people's stories. You can find that within. So to be and not to be, would you like to be present or not to be present? It's like I said, if you're not living in the present moment, you're living in the past where you do not exist. And when you find no existence, you start to lose yourself. When you lose yourself, that rudder loses its ability to steer you in the right direction. So we must take our time and find that inspiration on the inside. Because maybe then you would be the inspired one. Maybe then you would find that Christed being within you, pull it out, show it to the world, and maybe make some change. Because after all, the lips of wisdom are closed, except to the ears of understanding. When the pupil is ready to receive the truth, and only then will the teacher or whoever it is that they're looking for would come to them and present themselves. Has to do